Welcome back to Havens Cafe. Today, over a little cup of espresso, tea, coffee, grab your drink of choice. Maybe today it's a scotch, given what's going on in the world. We're going to discuss Trump setting the world on fire and what to do about it. Okay? Now, we're going to begin with some words of advice, and they're for everybody, not just Havens subscribers. Cash out. Okay? Cash out. The reason I say that is because what we're seeing happen to global markets is something that I've never seen happen before. I don't think any of us have ever seen this happen before. Okay? And it's not just that it's a regular, everyday shock. Markets are going haywire in very specific ways. Okay? So it's time to cash out and be safe. All right? And I'll come at the end to specifically what I think cashing out means too. All right? So what is going on in the markets after Trump bombed Iran? Okay, and now we're entering the second week of this. We're seeing haywire effects. And what I mean by that is that Trump has crashed every asset price under the sun, except two things: oil and the dollar. Okay, and I'll come to that in a minute. But first, I want to spend a minute teaching you about how haywire markets have really gone. So, Trump has crashed every stock market around the world, including America's. He's crashed every bond market around the world, including America's. He's crashed precious metals, which are flat and declining. Okay. He's crashed, yes, Bitcoin and crypto. Okay. Those aren't rising either. All right. He's crashed the value of every currency on the planet, except a handful. American dollar, Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, and maybe Australian dollar at the end of the day. Those are currencies that are heavily linked to energy. Okay? So, this is something remarkable and something catastrophic. All right? Let me try and say it again to teach you guys how important it really is. Trump has crashed every market in the world. Every last one. Okay? Except for the two things we discussed, oil and the US dollar. Now, that's special. It's different and it's catastrophic. So let's go through that quickly, all right? We should never be in a position where we see every market for everything around the world crash simultaneously, right? It's like seeing a patient go into multiple organ failure. All right? Normally, in times of war, when we have economic shocks, war is a kind of shock, all right? We have pretty well-worn dynamics that finance tends to follow, all right? So stocks may fall, but the price of bonds rises, okay? Even if bonds in some countries fall, metals prices rise, okay? Even if metals prices stabilize, commodities prices rise. You can go down the list. It's a well-worn set of financial dynamics, all right? I cannot remember a time in modern history, and I don't know of another time in modern history, and I've spent my life studying economics and finance. I don't know of another time when every single market for everything around the world crashed simultaneously. Okay? So Trump is not just setting fire to Iran. He's not just bombing, right, Tehran and setting fire to oil fields in Tehran. He is setting fire to the global economy. This is becoming worse than Liberation Day. All right? We don't know how long the effects are going to last, and we don't know how long this is going to go on. So what happened over this weekend? Well, Trump said he doesn't care if the oil price rises. And sure enough, the price of oil just today, right? Futures markets beginning to open, bang, skyrocketing. This is the fastest price spike of any asset, I think, in modern history, maybe in financial history, period, certainly in the post-war era. We've never seen the price of anything, I think, rise so fast. Okay? Conversely, we've never seen everything else simultaneously crash or flatline. You see, it's very, very unusual. Think about it for a second. Everything else is crashing or flatlined. Every stock market, every bond market, crypto, metals, all of it. Okay? And if you're thinking to yourself, well, energy companies are sure, but they're not. Go ahead and take a look at the the prices if you want, the price histories if you want. So this is an extremely unusual situation. And it tells us the gravity of what we're facing, right? It's really catastrophic to see everything, multiple organ failure, everything crashing at once, okay? This is a bad indicator of what lies ahead. This is the global markets beginning to realize that they are dealing with a lunatic. This is the global markets beginning to realize that they are dealing with somebody who wants to become, as I put it in one of my last essays, dictator of the world. Nobody knows what to do about this. Nobody knows how to price this risk. Nobody knows what to do in a world where Trump's fascist lunatic is controlling the world's oil supply. And he's bombing countries, and he's saying, I'm going to handpick the leaders like a dictator of the world. Nobody has any idea what to do about it. That's why we're seeing these crazy dynamics, right? So if it was a typical war, right, let's say pre-Trump era, we should have seen the price of US bonds rise because the world still trusted America, at least to some degree. The world doesn't trust America, so even US bonds are falling, all right? We should have seen the price of metals rise. We didn't see that happen, all right? Because that tells us we're at such an extreme degree of fear now in the markets that everything is considered unsafe, all right? Leaving us with only two assets that are rising, oil and the dollar. And the dollar, as I've explained to you in previous videos and essays, is mechanistically linked to the rise of oil. People aren't buying dollars because they, run into a door, dictator Trump over here. They're saying, hey, daddy, we love you. No, it's because oil is priced in dollars, okay? And so the more dollars you have cheaper, right, effectively you lock in a cheaper price of oil. So that's why dollar is going up marginally. Now, the rise in the dollar is small, right? It's going to be a percentage point here or there. Right? It's not that the dollar is going to go up 50% or something, right? So it's not going to offset what everybody else is losing. And that's the point here, right? Which is that people around the world now are seeing their wealth go up in smoke. In America, in Europe, in Asia, in the Middle East, across the entire world. And this is what Trump has done, okay? So the rise in the dollar is not going to offset the damage that is happening. If the dollar goes up by a few percent, it's not going to offset stock and bond markets around the world crashing. It's not going to offset, the average financial portfolio's absolute devastation that lies ahead. You see, when Trump says, I don't care how high the price of oil goes, and what he said today literally, I think, was something like, it's a small price to pay. maybe for him, right? For everybody else in the world, it's going to bleed out their portfolios and eventually cause a 1929 style crash. And that crash could happen this week, it could happen next week, we don't know. But certainly, right, since the war began, portfolios have been bleeding out consistently, okay? All right, even Havens, right? Which I designed to be totally, as much as I could, right, proof against this thing, right, to withstand this kind of shock, all right? But now markets are facing such an extreme degree of fear that everything is beginning to sell off. Okay, so that's why I say cash out. Be smart, be safe. If this goes on for another week, another 2 weeks, we're already in uncharted territory. We've never seen global sell-offs in every market of every asset class. Never seen it. Okay, if this continues for another week or two, we're in uncharted territory, but in the wilderness. Will we begin to see crashes in every market across every kind of asset class? 20, 30% craterings, right? What's it going to take? Well, Trump doesn't appear to care. And if the thinking here is that Trump is going to suddenly chicken out, he may well do. But the damage is going to probably last well beyond that, okay? Because Middle East now is beginning to take its oil facilities offline, okay? People are fleeing the Middle East. All right, so it's not like this is all magically going to sort itself out because Trump announces something, right? He's probably going to say something like, well, all that Russian oil at sea, I now effectively unsanction it. I don't think that's going to make up, right, for the fact that we now have a global economy, civilization, whose energy has been choked off, okay? So be smart, be safe. This is the time to cash out, okay? And there's no shame, there's no fear in that. This is good risk management. This isn't panic selling that we're talking about. Risk management says, when we have done well, we want to lock in our gains. That's all that we're doing here, okay? Whatever kind of portfolio we're in, this applies to, all right? I don't know of any kind of portfolio, by the way, guys, that's going to withstand 2 weeks, a month of this. None of them. Every portfolio is based on stocks and bonds of some kind, right? Trump has cratered them in every market around the world, including America. All right, that's not going away tomorrow. In fact, this week, there may be serious carnage if Trump refuses to, right? All these things that he's announced, naval tankers escorting ships to the Straits of Hormuz, an insurance plan for the maritime industry. Pie in the sky. Typical Trumpian kind of dynamics, they show no signs of actually happening. Okay, and even if they do, I don't know if that's enough to calm the extreme degree of fear out there. So please understand that. We've never seen fear like this in the global economy before. At least that I know of. Okay? Going back shock by shock through time, I can't remember a time when every asset class in every market around the world fell simultaneously. All right? So be smart, be wise, cash out for now. That's my take. I'm not your financial advisor. This isn't financial advice. All right? I'm just talking to you about the economy and what a hypothetical good investor should probably do at the moment. Does that make sense? I hope that was helpful. Questions, comments, leave them below. Thank you.